Good morning, beautiful people of internet land. We are just waiting for a moment for Instagram to catch up as always, and then we will go live with a topic that I'm very excited about today. We will manifest the topic shortly as soon as Instagram manifests itself coming up here. So we're just going to give it a minute. Here we go. I see the feed. Excellent. Okay, so we are now live everywhere. Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DIY Wellness. This is the show for people taking personal growth into their own hands. So me and my co-host, Morgan, we like to present different modalities, different ideas, different healing tools, different techniques, and then you take what resonates for you and toss the rest or put them on a shelf and come back to them later when they resonate more, because you can't get your healing journey wrong as long as you're on it. So today, what I want to talk about is the truth about manifestation. Mo isn't joining me today, so I'm doing a solo act. So we're just going to get right into things. We're going to talk a little bit about manifestation and how it was never, ever, ever meant to be about things. We're also going to talk about what manifestation is meant to be about, which is about the emergence of consciousness and character. And finally, I'm going to share with you a technique that you can use to sort of manifest with the way it was intended spiritually and sort of divinitally. Okay, so how do I want to begin this here? I want to mention that manifestation is not capitalist. Spiritual laws are not capitalist in nature. So the idea that manifestation was somehow a thing where we were going to use it to create more things, to attract more things, and to become more prosperous in that capitalistic way was always an error. It was never correct. So the secret behind the secret is that the secret was wildly incorrect. There is this new age misunderstanding when it comes to manifestation, and it's this law of attraction idea. But if it was really as simple as thoughts become things, then most of us would either be dead by now because of the disaster scenarios that play out in our heads from living in perpetual fight or flight, or we'd be driving around in Ferraris and living in the mansions with our hot gymnast husbands or wives, if that's your thing, that we've always wanted. But that's just not how it works. That's not happening for most people, because manifestation is not about the stuff, and it never was about the stuff. It is about the state of being. We've been programmed to focus on the powers of manifestation on material gain. We've been fed this idea that the law of attraction is meant to bring us items and even luxuries, but it is not. The law of attraction is a fundamental law of nature, that particles like themselves are drawn together. That's the law of attraction. It does not mean we have the power to magnetically pull material goods towards ourselves with positive thinking. The laws of nature are not capitalist. They are impersonal, unfailing, unrelenting, reliable, and flawless, because they are born from unconditional love. They cannot be gamed like a desperate housewife at a Vegas slot machine. That's simply just not how this thing goes. So, we've also been taught, like, control your vibration, but thinking positively and controlling our vibration are both left brain activities. Thinking and control are left brain activities. Any spiritual law or psychological healing will involve the whole brain, not just the left brain of analysis and anxiety, but the right hemisphere too. That brings in creativity, imagination, a feeling of timelessness, oneness, interconnection. Control and thinking are limited. Manifestation is about tapping into the unlimited and then letting that inform your life, not about getting you stuff. So manifestation is about becoming what you want, not about getting what you want. It's about embodying the state of being that you desire by getting the thing you're hoping to get. So behind everything we want is really a state of being we hope it will give us, whether that's confidence, prosperity, peace, security, fulfillment. For example, I want a lake house coming up soon, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. I'm in the process of manifesting a lake house, but it's not because the lake house itself is the goal. Although I do actually also want a lake house. This is where the paradox comes in. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But whenever I am imagining the lake house, I'm imagining the feelings that the lake house will give me. The reason I want the lake house is because I want a place to have creative freedom. I want to feel a sense of prosperity and security, and I want to be by the water, right? So those are feeling states: security, safety, prosperity, creativity. So it's about manifesting that, not about manifesting the lake. Wayne Dyer calls this embodying the state of being of your wish fulfilled, in a book he wrote called The Wish Fulfilled. Even the Bible backs this up. In Mark 11:24, it says, "Whatsoever things ye desire, when ye pray, believe that you have received them, and you shall have them." Faith is the courage to act in spite of the possible consequences. So we must act in order to manifest, in order for manifestation to work for us. You can't just think your way to stronger character or a lake house. You can't think your way to more emotional freedom or $1 million. You can't do that. You have to heal. And in that healing process, your natural magnetism returns. Your natural magnetism is where people get tied up, because what you're trying to do here is use an imaginary technique, manifestation, an imaginative technique, not imaginary, to conjure feeling states. And then when you conjure those feeling states lead to natural magnetism. Natural magnetism may or may not bring you the exact stuff that you want. So we have to detach from the outcome. That's actually the next piece here, is in order to manifest successfully, which means not to get stuff, but to get more character and more a more emergence of our consciousness. That's the goal of manifestation, to make our consciousness emerge and to build our character up. The way for that to happen is we have to embody the state of being of the wish fulfilled, but not in order to receive the thing, because that's still a trap. If we are correctly and competently moving into the state of being of that which would be fulfilled if the wish came true, then receiving the actual wish often becomes superfluous or unnecessary, because what we really wanted was the state of being. The Gita puts it this way in chapter 4, verse 19, for those of you who want to go look stuff up. The enlightened sages call those persons wise whose every action is free from the desire for material pleasure, and who have burnt the reactions of work in the fire of divine knowledge. The reactions of work means like the fruit of your labor. So this is the whole thing here, is that you work to manifest in your imagination, and then you let it all go. You fully let it go. So in embodying the state of being we'd get if we had our material pleasures, we have to simultaneously detach from the material things themselves. When we do that, we enter into a great paradox. And this is the beauty. This is a good thing. All paradox leads to truth, because like the truth, paradox must include both sides of a subject. The truth includes. Paradox includes. Here's the magic. If we conjure the state of being, thereby lessening our need for the thing to materialize, and we also work to detach from the outcome altogether, that's often when the manifestations do come to pass. So there's a little bit of mind fuckery there, but that's not always. That doesn't always happen. And so if we have manifested properly, then the thing materializing is secondary. It almost doesn't matter anymore. So we manifest in order to become the state of being, not to receive the thing. The goal of manifestation is to manifest the state of being, ultimately rendering the appearance of the thing entirely irrelevant. You were meant to live in peace. So as my mentor and Oprah's life coach, Martha Beck, always says, the universe says yes to your every whim and desire, but it only delivers them to your home address, which is peace. And so if you aren't home, i.e., if you aren't peaceful with or without the manifestations, then they will never come, because the truest manifestation is the peace, not the stuff. So here's a short formula to help you on your own manifestation journey. This also comes from Martha Beck. It's intention, attention, no tension. So think of these as 3 steps. Step 1 is intention. You decide on the state of being you are targeting and the stuff that would bring it. And then step 2, you put your attention on it. You use your imagination to conjure the state of being by imagining the circumstances in physical reality, and you imagine them in great detail. So you really get into it and you feel how it would feel to have the water from that lake house on your skin and the sun and the big kitchen with the island, whatever your thing is, right? You imagine it in great detail so that it fills you with the feelings. And then finally, step 3, no tension. That means release the entire thing. You've got to let it go. Even the desire for the stuff, fully let it go. But bring the feeling state that you conjured into your day with you. So you conjure up this feeling state, and then you let the thing that brought the feeling state into being completely go. The thing in my case would be the lake house, imagining the lake house. And then I let that completely go. But I bring the feeling of that throughout my day, the feeling of peace, the feeling of expansiveness, the feeling of unlocked creativity, because that is what you are really manifesting. That is the point. Normally, we manifest with an eye on the physical stuff, which then means we are conjuring a feeling of desperation and lack along with whatever else we are doing when we imagine. So surrender is the key. The paradox is unrelenting. You have to fully imagine the attainment of the stuff and fully let the idea of the attainment completely go. Imagine it and then let it go, and then live in the feeling of its fulfillment anyway, knowing that is the fulfillment. The feeling is the fulfillment, and any manifestation in physical reality are a bonus if and when they occur. They aren't the point. In the yogic traditions, they call things like this, like miraculous manifestations and other types of things, siddhis. It's like the yogic way of describing superpowers, basically, because yogis can meditate, they can float, they can not eat for years at a time, whatever. And so in these ancient texts that talk about these superpowers, manifestation being one of them, it also says they are signs that you're moving in the right direction, but they are also distractions. And so we must keep our eye on the goal, on our spiritual development, not on the accumulation of things. So when you're doing your manifestation workshop, when you're trying to do that conjuring, it's meant to create the positive feelings via the imagination. We're meant to be manifesting a new way of being born from our higher consciousness. And then we reconnect it to our truth and our authenticity through our manifestation. Manifestation is meant to create the feelings, but it's not the focus. The stuff happening is not the focus. When it becomes the focus, the whole mechanism seizes up. And because the energy of desperate yearning does not build character, the way the energy of nurtured wholeness does. And so when you're sitting in your manifestation workshop, for lack of a better way of putting it, what you're doing when you imagine receiving all that you desire is you're nurturing a feeling of wholeness within you. Feeling nurtured and feeling whole is closer to the truth of reality, even if it has not been your personal experience that reality is filled with wholeness and nurturing. The truth is that reality is that way. If you look at every other species on the planet, aside from humans, whether that's animals or plants, all of them are fine all of the time, except for when they're in the middle of an attack or something like that. Like there isn't another species out there that goes through its day wondering where its next meal is going to come from. I'm just so worried. They just find their meal in the abundance of the landscape and environment in which they find themselves. That's true for every creature. That would be true for us, except for the human glitch of mental thinking and suffering that gets in the way. The point of saying all that, though, is to reinforce the idea that a sense of nurtured wholeness is the truth. It's the truth of the environment in which we live, absent of our human systems that keep us from that truth. So feeling nurtured and feeling whole is close to reality. And that's why manifestation is universally beneficial when it's done correctly. Because when it's done correctly, what we're doing is we are aligning our feeling state with one that is more closely aligned with the truth of reality. We're aligning our feeling state with one of abundance, one of benevolence, and one of connection. That is more true of reality than the pain, fear, suffering, and anxiety that we live in and inhabit moment to moment when we live only in the right brain. So manifestation is about bringing your whole hemisphere online, not about bringing a whole bunch of stuff into your life that you then have to put into a storage unit. So for example, let me bring this home with a story. I've spent so much of my time in my meditative practices manifesting my lake house. And once I have the lake house, it will be a literal dream come true. However, I don't have it now, and that's not a failure of my manifestation. If I were to think of it that way, that would literally also seize up the mechanism. Because every time I imagine it, I'm imagining peacefulness. I'm imagining my creative freedom. I'm imagining a relaxed, nurtured state because money isn't the object. And so even though I don't have the lake house yet, I'm going through a very topsy-turvy time in my personal life, right? And yet I have more access to peace. I have more access to creativity. I spend the least amount of time of everyone going through what we're going through worrying about money. Not because I'm a better person. It has nothing to do with that. But it's because my manifestation process has had me rehearsing peace and stability and creative flow. So now when life's plot twists come and smack me in the face, I have more access to peace and creativity and a feeling of security and creative flow. So try this. If this is resonating with you at all and you're sick of trying to conjure stuff, which is creating more and more desperate yearning and more lack and ultimately less stuff in your life, try instead to manifest a state of being, which will then manifest transformed consciousness and greater character. From that place of transformed consciousness and greater character, you are going to be much more likely to actually attain the stuff that you wanted to attain by just trying to think and control your vibration a long time ago. So today, don't just think about what you want, imagine it in great and specific detail. Allow it to seep into the feeling, allow it to steep you in the feelings of its attainment. Then let the outcome and results completely go, but take the feeling state into your day. See how long it lasts, see how people respond to you differently. This is where the manifestation rubber meets the road, right here, in how we utilize the feelings we conjure, how much faith we put in their reality and their ability to transform us, not in how much faith we put in our ability to miraculously get a toaster. So do this, okay? Conjure the feelings, let them transform your consciousness, and then let any attachment go. And if you have some experience with this, throw it in the comments. I would love to talk more about it. Let me know how the journey unfolds for you if you try this. If you've had troubles in the past with manifestation, let's talk about that too. You're part of the DIY wellness community now. So your struggle is our struggle. So in the meantime, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. See you again next Monday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Until then, keep taking personal growth into your own hands. Much love.